Okay, so this post was posted in the True Off My Chest subreddit. It speaks to how finances can impact a relationship. She says, my boyfriend and I were supposed to move in together 2 weeks ago. He bought an $87,000 truck without telling me. I refused to move in with him. She says, I'm very annoyed. He didn't even speak to me about it. We had so many discussions about moving in together, getting married, and then he goes and purchases a truck, $2,000 more than his yearly salary. If you're asking, how can a truck be $87,000? That's the price you get when you put every addition you want on it. He showed me a truck, expecting me to be excited, and I was livid. When he bought this truck, we were only a month from moving in together. We got into a bad argument where he told me it was his money and he could do whatever he wanted with it. Put that in your back pocket. He said this is his money and he could do whatever he wanted. She says, so I said fine and told him I'm not comfortable moving in with him anymore. I asked my landlord if my apartment was still available and if I could renew my lease, and they said yes. Now my boyfriend is saying he can't afford his place and his truck. I don't feel bad. You should have thought about that before buying something so expensive without talking to your girlfriend of 2 years. She said, I had some of his friends' girlfriends reach out to me and say I should support him. And one even said that I'm not loyal, and this shows I wouldn't support him if we were married since I run away when finances get bad. That's BS. He didn't lose his job or get hurt. He bought an expensive item without discussing it. I've been trying to get him to return the truck because it's already affecting his finances badly. He has only had the truck for 2 weeks, and he is worried that in the next month or two, he won't be able to cover all of the expenses he usually has. This weekend, we had another argument, and I think our relationship is going to end. I'm not helping him pay for this truck, and I'm not moving in with him. I have asked him for a break and will be thinking about what to do. She continues with, I appreciate the different opinions everyone has given me. I have a lot to think about. To answer two questions, no, he doesn't need the truck. He works from home, and if he has to check in at work, he has an office. Also, his friends and their girlfriends know about this issue because he asked for their views when we went to a get together last week. Only two girlfriends reached out to me to tell me I wasn't being supportive. The others have minded their business. Now for the update. I broke up with my ex that got the $87,000 truck, which I found out was actually $95,000. Yeah, so I broke up with him mainly because I realized we aren't financially compatible. Before I go into what happened, I do want to say something. I understand we weren't married, but we were moving in together into a new place and had several discussions about this move and our plans for the future, including marriage. For the people private messaging me saying it's his money and he can do whatever he wants, or you're only 2 years into a relationship, you're not a wife. I know that, and I have never asked what was in his bank account or told him what to do financially. I'm aware it is his money, but I also know his financial situation, and he was making decisions without my input that, if we were to stay together, would not only affect him, but also our relationship and our financial situation for years to come. I will die on that hill. This is not okay, and if it's okay for you, that's fine. But for me, if we make a financial plan and you make a huge decision without me, I won't be okay with it. And that's a big reason why I backed out of moving into a new apartment with him. I would have never made a decision like this without his input at all. The main reason why we decided to move in together was to take the next step in our relationship, but also to pay down our debts. I now have $22,000 in debt from student loans and a car. When I met him, though, it was around $60,000, and I was basically living on credit cards. Within the first few months of us dating, I saw how hard he worked and with a salary of $85,000. He was making huge progress in paying off his loans and credit cards. On my end at the time, I was only making $50,000. I honestly saw his work ethic and was like, wow, and got serious about my debt. I got a second part-time job where I was making $32,000 a year, bringing my salary to $82,000. When I did that, I did that so I could pay off my debts faster, but also so we could be on equal footing when we moved in together. He didn't have to pay significantly more living expenses than me when he had more debt. We did a complete month's budget before we moved in together and realized that we would each have $700 extra a month to put towards our own individual budgets. This is why the purchase of this truck was so surprising to me. We had planned this move for months. We had a budget, and he destroyed that plan with the truck. If he wanted a new car, there are plenty of cars that he could have gotten that would have fit into a $700 monthly surplus he had. Anyway, for the past few days before we broke up, he tried to show me that his truck was a good financial purchase and that we could still move in together. He told me that he had actually budgeted for this and could show me how he could afford this. I wanted to hear him out, so I went to his place and he had two budgets. He said he had been thinking of getting this truck for some time and he had worked out this budget beforehand. He showed me the first budget, and after his truck, insurance, expenses, and his debts, he was left with $115 for the month. I noticed with the first budget, he didn't include groceries, his hobbies, going out, or even gas for his car. I asked him how $115 was enough to live off of for an entire month. I asked him how he could afford all of this and his truck and if he planned to give up some things. He said no, he didn't plan to give up anything and that he could make everything work in his budget. I asked him what if he had an emergency or needed gas for his truck, and he just kept saying he would work it out without explaining how. After I saw the first budget, I asked to see the documents for the car, and that's how I found out the truck price was actually $95,000 after taxes, registration, and fees. He traded in his reliable 2003 Toyota and all his savings to get a loan at 14% for 72 months. His monthly payment is now $1,900. I'm sorry, $1,966, and insurance is $573. He also still has student loans, which are significant. I kept telling him $115 left over. Monthly wasn't enough. That's when he showed me his second budget, which had a combined higher monthly income. I asked him if he was getting a second job, and he said due to his job relying on him to be on call, he couldn't. I asked where the income was coming from, and this man said, well, you're getting a raise soon. I froze because I had mentioned this raise months ago. My first job is my career job, and I work in a field where you hit certain milestones, you get a pay bump. In September, if my raise is approved, I will go from $50,000 a year to $80,000. And with my second job, my total yearly income will be $112,000. But getting the raise isn't a guarantee. You have to meet certain criteria, and if you don't, you have to wait 3 months before trying again. When he said that, I was quiet, and then I said, so you planned a budget that included additional income that I wouldn't get for at least 6 months, and income that I might not even get in September. He said, when I got my raise, the ratio of what he would pay would decrease, and he would have more disposable income. I asked him why it was okay for him to plan budgets with my income, but yet I had no say in how he spent his. He couldn't answer that. I told him I had no issue with paying more bills if I got a raise, but the fact that he banked on that, didn't discuss it, and now expects me to be okay with this is ridiculous. I also said there's no way I would be paying more with the first budget because he wouldn't have been able to survive on $115. I told him he didn't communicate, and this is on him because he made huge financial plans without discussing anything. Finally, I told him I would have never done any of this without going to him first because I thought we were a team and was building something. I ended things the next day, and he has been trying to reach out, but I'm not interested. He has financially crippled himself with this truck. If my income now, he could barely make it. He sure isn't making it on his own. I really hope that things work out for him and he's able to keep his truck and recover, but I'm not paying the consequences for such a financial mistake that is going to hugely affect him for years to come. If I were to stay, this financial decision affects me as well and would continue to affect both of us for years. Again, this is different from becoming ill or losing a job. He chose this and he refuses to budge and fix it. I now realize we are not financially compatible, and that's okay, and I wish him the best. She says, thanks everyone for all the support. I don't hate my ex, and I really hope he's able to recover from this. It was such a learning lesson for me and how one mistake can ruin you financially. It has made me more cautious, but also more determined to keep working towards a better financial future for myself. Please understand that you have to know the health of your partner. You got to know the physical health and the financial health and all of that because it does impact you. How you move will be impacted because if he needs someone to pull up the slack, that's going to impact your pockets. That's going to impact your bank account. So this woman is very smart in how she handled this. You guys, I'm not going to do the comments because this was already long enough with the updates, but you guys jump in the comments. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Okay, so this one was posted in relationship advice. It is kind of long with no paragraph breaks, but I'm going to work through this one. She said, I'm leaving my husband over Pew Pew safety. Is this a valid concern? She's 44, he's 67. Just reading the title, absolutely, that is a valid concern. Pew Pew safety is very important, and people should be on the same page with that. So, but let's get into the post. Okay, so she says, my husband has a decent Pew Pew collection, is big on his Second Amendment rights, and is a hunter. While he knows a lot about Pew Pews, he does not always follow the number one rule of safety. If you do not know the number one rule of Pew Pew safety, it is to treat every Pew Pew as if it is loaded and always keep it pointed in a safe direction. Before we were married, he bought me a Pew Pew, but would not allow me to have it until I took a concealed carry class. A lot of the class focuses on safety. We have been married for 8+ years, and this is a discussion we have had many times throughout our marriage. Every time he has a pew pew in his hands and I am around, at some point he flags me with it. When I say flagged, I mean he is moving or repositioning his pew pew, whether it be for comfort or just moving around as he walks and talks, and he points the barrel of the pew pew in my direction. Oh my goodness, briefly placing me in the line of fire. He is not actively, purposely pointing the pew pew at me. He is just not being careful. About 3 years ago, we were squirrel hunting together, and he flagged me with his pew pew several times in the first hour of the hunt. I told him about it every time it happened, and no, I'm not a gentle wife when I have looked into the barrel of a pew pew. He immediately walked back to the car and got in. I got in too, thinking we were going to hunt another spot. Instead, he drives me home and goes back out to hunt alone. We talked about it later, or rather argued about it later. I don't remember how that argument ended. He knows this is a problem and a big concern of mine. My brother took up hunting a couple of years ago, and they hunted together once. Before my husband went out of the door to hunt with my brother, he assured me he would be careful because he did not want to face my wrath if something happened to my brother if he wasn't careful. Another time, my brother was in our home and my husband returned from hunting by himself. He came inside and flagged me with the 22 rifle he was carrying. My brother witnesses this and politely but firmly told him what he had just done. My husband apologized to both of us, and for a few months he was super careful, but that did not last. We went out one afternoon to go shopping in a town a couple of hours from home. He decided to carry that day. While I was shopping in different stores, the pew pew fell out of his pocket into the floor. Not just once, but 3 times. The last time he flagged me with the pew pew, I told him I told him he would not like how I react if it happened again. A month or so later, it happened again. We were outside and he shot at a predator that threatened our livestock. A while after shooting, he placed the pew pew on his shoulder, but when he got tired of holding it there while we were talking, he took it off his shoulder and lowered it to the ground. The barrel of the pew pew followed my body from head to toe before he pointed it to the ground. I said to him, watch where you're pointing that thing. It's not a walking stick. You might ask me why I was even around when he had it, because I believed he is capable of change. I want to trust him because I can't avoid it. Pew pews are a part of our lives. It doesn't matter where we are. Anyway, he did not reply and eventually put it away. I later got it, removed some screws, took out the trigger, and dismantled it as much as I could. He did not notice this for a few hours. When he discovered his weapon had been tampered with while I was at work, he texted me and I told him it was me and why I did it. I sent him a Pew Pew Safety 101 video from YouTube where the instructor told a story about an accidental death of a family member, hoping that man's story and instruction would reach my husband. He refused to watch the video. Instead, he said he did not want to hear another word out of me, but he did want me to go write something. He told me he wanted me to write a list of people he has hurt. When he said that, I lost my mind. I yelled. I screamed, but to no avail. I yelled at him that I did not want to get shot because he isn't careful. He replied, oh, so you know it's going to happen. I screamed at him, saying, nobody knows it's going to happen until after it has happened. When I realized there was no getting through to him, I told him if he was too ignorant to understand what I'm asking, he can get out. He got dressed and left. I'm taking this stance because I feel that the number one rule is there for a reason. Our family members are worth every bit of safety precaution. I am worth every bit of safety precaution. He believes I'm overreacting, and I doubt myself a lot. I'm looking for kind feedback from anyone, especially if you know and have experience in hunting and love your Second Amendment rights. Whew. Like I said, this was long, but women have got to stop second guessing ourselves. This was long, and so many times she gave him chances after chance after chance. There was way too many chances. There was way too many chances in this situation, and we have got to put our survival instincts ahead of their feelings because there's just one too many. And he's not listening to her, and she's not listening to her inner alarms. She should have left him 3 incidents ago, maybe 4 incidents ago. But that's just me. And this was already kind of long, so I'm not going to do any of these comments, but you guys can jump in. I think women need to start putting our survival over the feelings of these men. But that is me. You guys jump in the comments. Let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. This is an interesting one that was posted to the Am I Wrong subreddit. He says, my wife suddenly wants me to be attractive. Am I wrong to think she doesn't love me anymore? This is interesting. I haven't seen this one. He says, I'm going to be honest. I've never been a good looking dude. It's just the hard truth. I'm a I'm overweight person. Working on it. Got crappy skin, an ugly mug, and eyes. I need thick glasses to function with. However, I managed to have a good enough personality to get attractive women, my wife being the best looking of them all. For the longest, she didn't care about my looks and she just wanted me to do basic hygiene. But recently, she's been trying to glow me up, her own words. All of a sudden, she's pushing me to get contacts because glasses ruin my face, pushing me to work out, lose weight, making me take expensive health supplements, buying me products to fix my skin conditions. She's also started taking my hair care into her own hands and shopping for my clothes. Who I was when we met, married, is no longer good enough for her. She also doesn't want to be intimate nearly as often. When I asked what all of this is about, she says something like, you have so much potential and you should see it though. I'm sorry, and you should see it through. She swears she loves me, but there's no harm in looking better. I can't help but think she's lost interest in me. Even if my wife gained 50 pounds and shaved her head, I can't imagine badgering her like this. Every single day she either says or does something that shows me looking good is extremely important to her. One day she literally cried because I shaved my facial hair in a way that did me no favors. Yes, literal tears. Am I reading into it? For the longest time, men had it so that women had no choices but to accept whatever packaging they came in. And they convinced women that they could look however they wanted to. They convinced us that men were visual creatures and that women just cared about personality. Men said this regarding the opinions of women. Women are also visual creatures, and yes, you should work towards being your best self. Now, this woman, even according to him and according to this post, it does not sound like she's saying, if you don't put on a nicer shirt, I'm going to leave you. It sounds like she is saying things, being proactive in a way that's beneficial. But that is how I read through these words. And these are coming from him. We don't even know her side. But nothing that he said in this is like terrible. Giving him supplements, getting products to fix his skin conditions, that seems like it's the helpful things that wives do. But I am reading this, and you guys can go ahead and leave your comments on what you think. Pushing him to work out, maybe she wants to be with him for the long haul. Maybe she wants him to be healthier for the long haul. That's just how I'm reading into it. You guys go ahead and weigh in on your thoughts. I will do a few of these comments. All right, so this person says, sounds like she's on top of things and is communicating in a relatively positive or friendly way overall, trying to glow you up. One thing I learned through counseling is people take a lot of things too personally. She's trying to help you grow into who you are. Maybe listen to her. She sees greater in you. And this person quoted this part: "My wife wants to help me improve my life. What does it mean?" And this person said, "My wife wants to help me improve my life. Does that mean she doesn't love me anymore?" Okay, so this person says, "I mean, you can say it condescendingly like that, but you can also try to have half an inch of perspective to see it totally makes sense from the point of view of someone like the OP. One, I am generally comfortable with who I am. I know I'm not perfect and I have things I could improve, but I'm generally content in my own skin. Two, knowing and accepting this, my wife loved me and married me. Number three, my wife suddenly wants me to make drastic personal changes. Number four, my wife no longer loves me for who I am. You see her actions as helping to improve his life, whereas he clearly sees them as wanting him to become someone he has never been. Does that mean the OP shouldn't improve? No, but you have to consider, if the OP doesn't want to change, would his wife be right to be upset at him? I think if you answer the last question and consider the implication of the answer, you'll more clearly understand that it is not as cut as dry as you're implying. This person says, "We don't know any of that from the OP, really. Sure, he has said he's the same as he has always been, but can it really be difficult to be an accurate but it can be really difficult to be an accurate judge of yourself. His idea of staying the same and hers could be very different. Maybe he did let himself go. Maybe they're getting older and it's obvious he needs to improve himself before that window has passed. It only gets harder with age." Absolutely. It only gets harder with age. That is absolutely true. Whew, okay. This person, and my toast is too dark responds with, "If you take a second to read and comprehend what I very plainly wrote, you'll see I'm providing some insight as to why the OP might think this way, rather than the condescending simplification that I replied to. I didn't say the OP was right. I said that boiling down his distress to LOL, the guy is so dumb, his wife cares, and he's just a dummy isn't helpful." I don't think that anybody really reduced it down to being that simple. Yes, people can be kind of flippant, but I don't think the original post that was towards the top said any of that. Anyways, you guys go ahead. Let me know what you think about this one. This is different to see that a man is having a woman say, maybe you could improve here, here, or there. So let me know what you think about this one. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.